Gotta do my thumbnail. Now I gotta do my thumbnail. Hello, if you're new here, my name is Christina, aka Northwest Reader, and this video is my mid-year book freakout tag. I know it's not a weekly wrap-up, that's all I've been posting, but hey, I've been posting. Anyways, so I took some rough notes. We'll see how this goes. I just want to try to do this quickly because I have to finish getting ready for a wedding. Okay, so the first question is the best book that you've read so far in 2021. This is tough because I've picked up a lot of horror recently, and I mean within the last year, and I don't even know what is my favorite horror book this year, so I can't answer that because I have so many top books, but I just don't want to list them because there's just so many. But non-horror related, one of my favorite outside of horror books I read this year is Wanna Out of Order by Margarita Montemor. So good. It involves, it's like women's fiction, and it involves time travel and sort of like coming of age, and it's just I loved it so much. It was everything I loved. So yeah, I would say that outside of horror genre. And thrillers this year have been kind of disappointing for me, quite honestly. Like all the ones I've read have just been meh. So this one is probably my favorite book so far, excluding the horror. What was the best sequel that you read this year? That's pretty simple because I've only read one sequel, I believe. And I read a prequel, but technically that is not a sequel. So I'm going to have to say Labyrinth of the Dolls by Craig Walwork. It's pretty good. I would definitely read the first one, which is Bad People, and then read this one. It's like a detective horror crime serial killer book, and it was good. New release you haven't read yet but you want to. This was also tough because there's so many that I would like to read. But for horror, it will be After Me, The Great Flood by Jason Robert Ducharme. I always butcher his name. I think I heard Nikki pronounce his last name and it sounded right, but then I immediately forgot how to pronounce it, so I'm sorry. I believe that's considered a novella. I still have to read it. It looks great. I just need to get on it because it recently was released. And then the other one outside of horror is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid, which it's not exactly a sequel to Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but I guess it's in the same family, the same realm. So I'm excited to read it because I love Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, but there's a lot of people that have been about Malibu Rising, and I'm just kind of bummed about it. So I've been dragging my butt to read it because I'm going to be disappointed. So the next one is my most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And that's going to be I just put down a horror one, but Sergio Gomez's Halloween Slaughter. He's been talking about it since last year, and I just can't wait to read it. He wrote Camp Slaughter, so that would be the first. So I'm super excited to continue on in that story, in that universe. I'm pumped. The biggest disappointment for this year, probably the one I DNF'd, Dead Inside. I just his writing style itself is really good, but the content, not about it. Completely disappointed. That is the only time I've ever bought a book, read 20 pages, messaged people asking for spoilers to see if I'm not in. Yeah, I did not like what I read or heard. So I immediately, the same day that I got it, received it in mail, I returned it. That's how much I did not. Whew. But that's not knocking on the author whatsoever. It was not my type of book at all. And then the other disappointment was Horror Store by Grady Hendrix. I was just bored with the story. I was like, I guess the story was kind of interesting, but through the whole thing, like, it's like a catalog, but I did not like it. And very forgetful. I think I just got lucky with the first book I read, My Best Friend's Exorcism. I thought that was pretty good, but it seems like Grady's books have been going downhill with people liking them and stuff. Like, even the most recent one by them, people aren't saying great things, so I think I'm just giving up on Grady Hendrix. The biggest surprise, I'm gonna have to say, is Joshua Marcella's Severed. Everything about it is like something I wouldn't typically go for. Like, it's a prequel, but I mean, I don't read series, so just that alone is like something I don't normally have an interest in reading. And then it takes place during the Vietnam War. I don't like war books, don't care about reading about the military since being in it. And then I think those were like the two main things where I was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna like this, but I ended up loving it. I liked it a lot. It was really good and super creepy. So yeah, it was a very pleasant surprise. And yeah, I didn't go in thinking I was gonna hate it. I was just a little like, I'm not sure. My fave new author, I'm gonna have to say it is probably Laurel Hightower. I recently finished Crossroads. I love this story, and I love her writing style, and yeah, I think she's probably my newest favorite author. I bought her other one, which I can't think of the name of, but I gotta read it because now I want to read everything that she's ever written. My newest fictional crush, I don't remember her name, but this was really hard for me to figure out too, because I don't really get crushes on characters too often. But from Mike Thorne's book Shelter for the Damned, it is the female love, or the, people hate saying female, the love interest in that book. She sounds like, from what I can remember, she's like this little goth, like smart ass, quick wit girl in it, and I loved her. Like, the main character had a crush on her, and then I ended up having a crush on her, even though like her role was super, like, she wasn't, she was in it obviously, but she wasn't like a super big main character in the story. I feel like I don't remember there being too much of her in it, but I was in love with her. I don't know if it's because she reminded me of me in high school, but she just sounded lovely. Newest fave character. So there were quite a few, but the ones that I could remember, Una, or Uana, I keep wanting to say Uana, Una from Una Out of Order. I really enjoyed her. Betty from Betty. She, like, her character was so tragic, but I loved how strong-willed and smart and just such a strong character. Oh my god, she went through so much, and she survived. So I loved her. And this is funny, but Babs from the Diner, by J.C. Robinson. I love Babs. She's this old lady serial killer who runs a diner, and she kills a bunch of people. And I know that sounds crazy and wild, but whenever she was killing people, I was just thinking, good for her. Good for her. You know, like those memes that go around. Yes, Babs, work. Next question is book that made you cry. There's only been a couple, and it was Betty by Tiffany McDaniel. It's just, that whole book is just super sad, like heartbreaking sad, so many different things. And weirdly enough, The Push by Ashley Audrain. And that is just one specific scene, this moment that is super sensitive to me. I'm gonna like cry every time. And it was a lot. And it just broke my heart. And it was just hard to read. Ugh. So I'm not gonna do any spoilers. Next question is, what book made you happy? Again, I'm going to say The Diner by J.C. Robinson, which is kind of weird, but Babs in it, she made me laugh so much because she would do these puns, or she'd be like, she was just funny to me. I don't know why she was so funny to me, but she is. So I'm going to have to say that book. And the collection, the short story collection by Donnie Goodman, The Razor Blades in My Head. There were a couple stories in there that made me laugh, like genuinely made me laugh. And I forget the one, what it was called, but it deals with like a cult in Bell or something like that. Loved it. I laughed so freaking hard. So funny. So funny. Next one is my favorite book to film adaptation from this year. There's been a few things that I've read that have been adapted to TV, film, and like I read the one, but I didn't watch the show because I heard like it has terrible reviews. And the one I thought was decent, but I just don't care to watch it. And maybe I would have to say I read about 20% of The Stand, and then I just kind of DNF'd it for now because I was just kind of bored. But I watched the first episode of The Stand, and I didn't like it either. I was so confused. And like, I read the book after I watched the first episode. Yeah, the first episode, and the show is so freaking confusing. Like, just the first episode, I couldn't take it. It was just too much for me. So I guess The Stand, but it was both garbage. I mean, not the book. I'm not saying like, you know what I mean. Like, I don't think the book is garbage or anything, but it's just the show was so confusing. What is the most beautiful book that you bought? So this is tough because I've been given a lot of books this year, so like ones that I bought though, like physically, is tough to say. But I'm gonna have to go with, I have three. Laurel Hightower's Crossroads. I just showed this to you. I don't see this style of cover ever, and it's beautiful, and it tells the story. After you read the story, it's all right there, and I love it. I think it's gorgeous. The next one I got from, I think it's this last Nightworms package, but Beneath a Pale Sky by Philip Fracassi. I think this is a gorgeous cover. I think it's beautiful spread, like perfect. And then this book I came across on Goodreads, and I had to get it because I thought it was just absolutely gorgeous. And it can be triggering, so if you don't like blood and harm, like who likes harm? But I know this cover kind of bothers some people when I post through it, so you've been warned. Talia by Daniel J. Volpe? I'm not sure, but this cover is just beautiful too. I just love how simple and clean it is. I really appreciate covers that are able to do like the minimalist style, because I have a hard time trying to design stuff like that. So I appreciate when people can do that. So yeah, I'm gonna say those three are my favorites that I got this year. And then, what do you need to read for the rest of the year? Just like everyone else who's done this tag, it's pretty much everything on my TBR I need to read. But what I would like to focus on mostly are the books that people have been so gracious enough to send me for review, and I just want to get to those by the end of the year, I would hope. I should be able to, but I've been given a lot of books, e-books, physical books, like all of them, audiobooks even. I just want to get them all done. So that's it. Yeah, this is my mid-year book freakout tag of 2021. Crazy. And in a couple days, it's going to be my 2-year anniversary of being on BookTube. So that's kind of exciting. It's funny to think that my first videos that I did on here, I was super pregnant. So it's like, now I have a 2-year-old. It's just, it's fun. It's funny to see. Again, thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys later. Okay.